Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. I need two things from you before this video starts. We need to pretend two things, boys. Okay, one, we need to pretend that it's not 3 a.m. right now. Okay? We're going to pretend like Clancy from 21 Pilots didn't just drop 3 hours ago, and I didn't spend 3 hours listening to it and watching all the music videos and nerding out with my friends about it. That didn't happen, and it's not 3 o'clock. Two, we're going to pretend that it's 2 days earlier than it currently is. I'm recording this on technically the 24th, but the 23rd. I was supposed to record this on the 21st, but my first version of this got cut off by my camera literally dying on me. Not literally, like, it ran out of battery. It didn't literally die. So I was supposed to record this video on the 21st, which just so happens to be the 3-month anniversary of the Canyon, which I wanted to break back out and kind of talk about after all this time. How do I feel about it? How is it held up? Because it's one of the most relevant ballad songs in the hobby right now. I genuinely believe that. Not only is it cheap, not only is it very, very good, but it's one of the easy recommendations to beginners. It's something that a bunch of beginners are especially interested in, and I think it's going to be incredibly good to kind of brush up on how we feel about the Canyon before Nabalis' next $50 ballad song comes out in the extrusion, which, yeah, their lineup is getting a little bit crazy, but oh well, can't really do anything about that. I, at the very least, am excited to see a company that is putting so much time into making genuinely unique, interesting designs. So keep it up in that sense, but also your lineup's getting real crazy, Nabalis. It's, yeah. So yeah, that's it. We're just going to pretend none of that happened. Clancy was really good, by the way. Oh, man, I really, really, really was caught off guard by some of the songs and how much I liked them. I won't nerd about that. I won't nerd out about that right now. If you want to see a bonus bias about my music taste, and maybe I'll talk about Clancy in that bonus bias, leave a comment, I guess. But we are going to talk right now about the Canyon. Because when I first unboxed it, it was a very interesting experience. It was something that I wasn't really used to, and it was something that I spent a lot of time wondering if it could be my new recommendation, my new baseline recommendation for beginners. Because, you know, it's different from the Vulp. And the Vulp was my baseline recommendation because it flipped okay. I always say it, I'm still not a massive fan of the Vulp, but I still think it flips good enough to recommend to a beginner. And it comes with everything you need, more importantly. It comes with lube, it comes with Loctite, it comes with extra storage. Not extra storage, extra hardware. And it's just a genuinely good deal for a beginner. So I had to make the choice. Was the Canyon better than that? It was a better choice in that. And when I finished that video, despite how kind of conflicted I was in that video, when I finished the video, the answer was clearly yes. Here's a cheaper ballad song that I think still flips really, really well. I don't have the same problems with this thing that I do with the Vulp, which the Vulp is getting a new Teflon coating on some like specific special edition model, which is pretty cool, so I'll keep my eyes on that. But the Canyon doesn't have those same problems, and I think the Canyon can grow with you much easier. But my biggest problem was that the Canyon doesn't feel very representative of how a normal aluminum ballad song would flip. And I think that was one of the most controversial things, in the sense of not that people actually were like, that's a stupid opinion, just that's the thing I saw the most discussion about, which I think is totally fair. But coming back to the Canyon 3 months later, I have to stand by it. Because yes, some people have brought up good points that not everyone who gets into the hobby is going to collect, is going to buy more ballad songs. But when you're recommending something to a beginner, you really do want it to be the best representation overall of the hobby. And you want their transition to be easy or else they'll quit. It's all about maintaining that balance between giving them something that is good, you know, as from a beginner standpoint, and something that will help them understand if this is something that they want to pursue further. Because that's really, at the end of the day, ballad songs, a majority of the community are collectors. And I'm not saying everyone is, but so many people in the community collect and have more than one ballad song and buy more than one ballad song and have a whole collection because your collection tells a story. Your collection has all these different things about it that are unique to you. you can really express yourself, both, you know, flipping style-wise, aesthetically, all of that through your collection. So I do think that, yes, while it is fair that that's maybe not the easiest thing to assume that all beginners are going to do, I think it's still something that a lot of beginners are going to do. So the problem I have with the Canyon is just that it doesn't represent the beginner, or it doesn't represent the overall hobby experience as good as it could, is the key change. Because I still think that this thing is fantastic. I still think that this thing is really, really great for the price. And I still believe that this is an amazing beginner tool. I actually recommended someone that I am friends with from school, recommended one of their friends a Canyon, and they got it and they have really liked it so far. And it's been really cool to like have that actually happen in my real day-to-day life. So I definitely believe that the Canyon is a very worthy pickup for a beginner. But I still do believe that it's just a little weird. Because the thing is, it's steel, and it is going to carry momentum differently than any aluminum or titanium balisong. That's just it. It feels heavier. It feels a little sluggish. I wouldn't even say sluggish. It just feels heavier, and there's a lot of momentum that needs to be stopped whenever you want to do ricochets. And that's something that doesn't really happen a ton in aluminum balisongs, specifically in the cheaper ones that you can find. Something like an Orion, I think, is really the perfect introduction to the hobby, because the Orion just freaking slaps and is amazing and is sick, and I love it. I understand that that is a bit expensive for some people, though, and that's where the Canyon comes in. So the Canyon absolutely has earned my #1 spot for recommending to beginners. I don't know. Absolutely my #1 spot to recommending to beginners. But with the caveat that, yes, it is very slightly weird. I don't think it's enough to misrepresent the hobby. I think if you flip the Canyon and you're like, this isn't for me, it's probably a good chance that buying another balisong won't change that. So I don't really think it's going to scare anyone away, but I do say that to make people aware of it, you know? Because, like, yes, you're very correct in saying that this thing flips very, very good, and a beginner doesn't really have too much to worry about. But I want them to be aware of everything that they can be. Because I like to think back to when I got my Arctic. When I got my Arctic, the only thing I had flipped up to that point was a Squiddy B. I wasn't even aware that when you do certain tricks, you switch the handle that you're on. I remember taking out my Arctic and doing a thumb rollover and being like, oh, that's weird. Why am I on the bite side? And I remember specifically being like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like the fact that I have to keep track of the handles as they go, because it wasn't something that I had to worry about with the Squiddy Bee, and that was never something that anyone mentioned. So, even if the Canyon ends up being something that I wholeheartedly recommend, I still want people to be aware that there's a little bit of weirdness. If you only flip this for an extremely long period of time, it will be a little weird switching to a normal balisong. If you only flip a normal balisong, it will be a little weird switching to this. Same thing as a Squiddy, just not as extreme. I think that's really where it is. You get the Squiddy syndrome, but it's not Squiddy syndrome in the weight, it's Squiddy syndrome in the distribution and the momentum, which can be a little weird to some. So I say that to make people aware of it. But otherwise, I think the Canyon absolutely rocks. I think it's such a sick first balisong. Like, I'm extremely jealous that this exists for beginners when I paid more for a Squiddy Bee as my first balisong. I love my Squiddy Bee. I thought it was a great beginner knife, especially for how I learned balisongs, but damn am I jealous that you guys get this for cheaper. Because, wow, it feels good, it flips good, it does every trick that you could want it to do reasonably well, despite the fact that it's steel handles and it has a lot of end weight. It still fans and choker fans pretty nicely. Rollovers obviously feel good. It doesn't feel too sharp. The one thing that I will say, did I say it doesn't feel too sharp? No, it doesn't feel too heavy. The one thing I will say is that if you get the fall slide blade, be careful, because the tip is as sharp as a normal blade would be. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, Canyon 3 months in. Still an absolute crazy awesome ballad song. Still really like it. A little bit weird, which I want people to be aware of, but not anything to the point where I would say that it's not worth checking out or it's worth upgrading to something else. Unless you want to spend the extra money, in which case the Orion, I definitely think is just much better than everything else around it. But yeah, we'll see how the extrusion goes. Hopefully the extrusion is similar, but I sort of fear that the extrusion is going to either kill the Canyon or the Canyon is going to kill the extrusion. I don't know if they're going to be able to coexist. Then again, the squid trainer exists with the swordfish. Who knows? So, that's my opinions on the Nabalis Canyon. Nabalis did send this to me for free way back in the day, but it was specifically for the videos that I made back then. All thoughts and opinions are my own. Probably should have mentioned that earlier, but that's just something that I wanted to bring up now. So, that's the Canyon. That's me. That's my very special day. Yeah, I'm going to go listen to Clancy again because it's really fucking good and I really like it. I hope all of you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.